Hello there, I'm Jacob. You may have seen me on Jerry the Day or from my one viral TikTok, but more on that later. This is my ski progression from 2020 to 2025. A noble story of how I went from this to this. An unstoppable Hesh monster. This is my little 13-year-old jit self. This is when I found a passion for skiing, when my dad didn't have to force me to go anymore. These clips are the end of the 2020-2021 season. I was just messing around in the park, doing some jumps, and I attempted my first threes, which I technically landed, but my body kind of only did a 180, but we'll count it. Even just from the beginning of this season to the end, this clip, you could see how much more comfortable I was in the air and obviously how much bigger I was going. 2021-2022 season is when I first attempted to jib and do some spectacular aerial maneuvers.
Go!
These were my horrendous first attempts of rails, but technically I did land them. Even just on this day, you can see I got so much better and even attempted my first, air quotes, down rail. But hey, look how jolly my face was. And for my first aerial maneuver I learned, a 180. Spectacular.
That was good.
Towards the end of the season, I attempted my first proper park rail. I don't know how I didn't die on that one, to be honest. And here's officially what I count as my first ever rail. Look at that. I was even dipping the front ski, already getting ready for those front swaps. It was this season where I started attempting some bigger, harder things. And while I was still far from being steez, I mean, compared to the previous clips, much, much, much better. Even picked my knees up a little there. This was my first time doing a grab other than a safety, and it was terrible. This was my first backcountry build, and I absolutely slammed.
Oh, face plant.
And that brings us to 2022-2023. I didn't get any clips until I made my TikTok in January, so just 2023, I guess. This was my first ever Pretz 2, and this is when I started expanding my horizons from flat rails to longer, kinked rails and doing some twos off. This was my first proper big handrail. Nearing the end of the season, my threes were still absolutely atrocious, just so loose. But this was when I gained some sense of style on certain tricks. This clip, one of my favorites to this day, just a huge safety. This is what birthed the Hesh Lord as you know me today. Last day of the season, I attempted my first backflip and absolutely died. I got posted on Jerry the Day though, so no regrets. Just look at me staring death in the face. 2023-2024. At this point, I was 16. This season is when I really started improving, did some bigger cliffs. And I took a trip to Jackson Hole, started hucking myself and gaining some style. My threes improved greatly, and I learned blunts on this trip, which I still love that trick. However, when I got back from Jackson, my style devolved, and I learned fives in the most loose, atrocious way possible. Just look at that. I really need some baggier pants. Here, I was doing difficult tricks, but still just no sense of steez whatsoever. Towards the end of the season, I did the loosest,
Just do it. Do a backflip.
the worst 720 anyone's ever done.
720.
Some of the attempts I got hucked, but I did eventually ski away from it. I still have never attempted a 7, but I landed that one clean, so I have no reason to. This is when I started doing some way bigger jumps and looking way more comfortable in the air. That brings us to last season, 2024-2025. Starting the season off, I was just hucking myself off big jumps. This is when I really got my threes dialed, and this is around the time when I started carving my threes to improve style. I was getting way more comfortable on rails and trying some bigger features. Here's a line from last season. I was dialing in my switch skiing and also practicing my 360s, which were starting to look a lot better at this point. I was also improving at jibbing. I learned front swaps here, and I think these were in the same day, but immediately I started taking front swaps to bigger features.
Yes.
That was pretty loose and not that clean, but I still did it.
Yes.
I took a trip up to Berthoud Pass, and I learned backflips, which after my attempt previously, which you guys saw, I was extremely scared of. I did ski away from it, though, and this was one of the best days of my life. This is when I got baggy pants and tried to be Steez. It was Steez, and it looked way better than it used to. I was even hucking fives with a little more style, not landing them though. I took the backflip to a proper park jump, and it went extremely well.
That's like our roommate, Chef.
This was my first K-Fed, which felt as a initiation to rail skiing. And this is when I got Hesh. Look at that. I did a DFDFD, just messing around a little. This is when I started actually feeling really comfortable on rails. I attempted to double swap there, and I did get a better one later in the season, but just improving my feel for rails. I started hitting the biggest features I've ever hit. This is when I started feeling like the Hesh Lord I was. My style was really starting to improve, and I was feeling a lot more confident on my twigs. I started getting more technical, switch lip, Pretz 2. Incredibly loose, but counts. At this point, at the end of the season, I was feeling over the top, just super comfortable with rails. I felt like I could hit any feature in the park, and I took a trip to Steamboat towards the end of the season, and I got the biggest threes I've ever done, and they were incredibly clean too, in my opinion. I could hit pretty much any feature in the park, rail or jump, at this point, and I was just zooming around all day, every day.
Oh, yes?
While still in Steamboat, I learned front swap. Doing multiple tricks on the rail felt nice. This was my last clip of the season. I had the tricks, and I was really working on my style, looking better than ever. That brings us to this season, 25-26. Starting off, I locked in my 50-50s, literally. This season, I've been obsessed with catching huge air, not in the park, and just hiking. I've probably gotten over 100 reps at the hike park at Copper. I learned 270s on, backslides, locking in K-Feds, and I did learn fours. I did get a cleaner one, not on film, but whatever. Three's looking better than ever, and I feel like I've come so far. This was actually today, the most recent clips I have. Just a big 5, and to end it all off, I gift you guys with a backflip. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe.